Welcome everyone to another episode of Slasher Scotty. I am your host Scotty McCoy, and boy do I have a surprise for all of you. I have on Zoom with me right now Christopher Norris, and he played Jimmy the Janitor in 13 Fanboy. Hey Chris, how are you doing?
Doing well, Scotty. Thanks for having me.
I'm
Good
glad
to
that
be
you could
here.
be here.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, not a problem. I'm actually really excited because I just saw 13 Fanboy on Halloween. I had to watch it on Halloween. And I saw 13 Fanboy and I immediately recognized you and I immediately saw
Awesome.
your scene and I was like, damn,
I know that guy.
I know that guy. And that was such a freaking badass scene.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah, I'm
was
very pleased with it.
it was
It was
very
a good
great.
time.
Yep,
hmm
absolutely. I really enjoyed it. So the first question I got for you is how did you get your start into acting?
Oh my gosh. Well, I am not a full-time actor quite at this point, but my background is being on stage, whether it's singing, drama club, concert choir, performing open mic, playing guitar, things like that. So
Mhm.
did quite a bit of that actually well before high school, but got a lot more in high school. And then just was doing spotty things here and there. My father and brother and I kind of formed a little bit of a mini band.
Nice.
So my brother would play bass and my dad and I would be on guitar, and I would sing or he would, and kind of go out and do open mic or coffee house shows and stuff for a little bit. And then it really was probably 15 years ago or so. You could probably find the dates, but I was living in Connecticut, and there was an open casting call for extras to do Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the Indiana Jones film.
Nice.
And so I thought, hey, man, that'll be fun. I'm not too far away. I'll be in the background. And so when I went down there, they got like 10,000 people wanting to be in it, of course, because everybody knew what it was.
Right.
And so when they called back, they said, well, how about instead of an extra, you can be Harrison Ford's stand-in? Are you okay with that? And I was like, yeah, okay. And they're like, well, you won't be on screen, you understand. I said, oh no, I know, stand in. I know what they do. That's cool.
Right.
So I got to go and work with Harrison Ford and Shia LaBeouf, and Dan Bradley was the actual second unit director I was working with. He did, I think, some of the Spider-Man films and Bourne Ultimatum and these big action
Wasn't he
sequences.
supposed to be Jason in Friday the 13th 6 as well, the original Jason?
I might have heard something to that effect, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Name sounds
But
familiar.
yeah, Dan Bradley. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, he's big now.
Yep.
But who was it? Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, or those guys, if I'm remembering their names correctly, they came to set, of course.
Nice.
So it was just kind of neat to see them and work with them and be
Mhm.
part of the stunt crew and watch these stunts actually get done. So that was pretty
Nice.
cool. And then really didn't do too much until about 3 years ago. Learned about 13 Fanboy from the Deborah Voorhees sheer horror group, and
Right.
saw that the Indiegogo was starting, and saw this option to be a Scream Queen, Scream King, whatever, and was like, oh yeah, that's something I haven't done yet. Let's
Yeah.
look into that, and
Nice.
kind of got on board. And just from the people that I met there, and learned that people in my own neighborhood were actually in that film community,
Right.
and ended up getting pulled into The Eyes of Tammy Faye with
Mhm.
Jessica Chastain and Andrew Garfield. That just came out about a month ago. Spike Lee and Kevin Wilmot won Oscars for Black Klansman.
Nice.
And so that allowed Kevin Wilmot to go and do his passion project called The 24th. And same kind of a thing. I was just waiting to do my scenes for 13 Fanboy and doing this other stuff in the meantime.
Mhm.
And they said, well, we don't want you for one of these background extras in the riot. We want you to play the attorney who defends these 65 people on trial for murder. And so,
Right.
yeah, okay, sure, I could do that. Yeah.
Awesome.
So, sit there and look pretty and that kind of thing. Not a lot of talking, but
Right.
yeah, it was kind of cool. So, really just in the last few years, I've had a lot of that kind of stuff take off.
Right.
I had to turn down a role in the UK because of COVID, hoping to make that up in the next film with Chris Sanders. Um, but yeah, a couple of other, little things here and there just for fun. But
That's awesome.
yeah, it's been
That,
fun.
that's awesome. Yeah. And I want to say hi to your buddy back there. Hey buddy. Hey Troy, how you doing? Troy Elke, my buddy there.
Yep.
He's awesome. He's a good guy. And I
Yeah.
know Greg Gilbert, he put me in touch with Troy Elke originally, and then he told me to reach out to you, and I'm like, it's funny you mentioned that. I had Chris Norris on my list for November. I wanted to reach out to have him on November so we can really hype up, 13 Fanboy. Since it'll already be released, we can actually talk about more than we would have been able to.
Yeah, for sure.
Before.
That was the plan. Yeah, and I know Deborah has asked, in general, not specific to me, but just for people to try not to spoil too much, for as long as possible. But there's no official, okay, moratorium's off in 6 months or 2 months or a week. So yeah, just hoping that, because it's one of those things, I don't want to spoil anything for any film, for anybody. So hopefully, you can keep it interesting. My perspective is that even the parts that I have in the film, I don't think spoil the story per se, any of that kind of thing. So it's probably a little bit less delicate, but if you're planning on giving the entire plot throughout, that might not be a good idea.
Yeah, so, exactly. That's like, going to see when Halloween Kills just came out, and you have an actor that's in the movie, and you literally talk about the whole movie up to the end. You know what I mean? Like, even though Halloween Kills is this big movie production that's already released, you don't want to, people haven't seen it yet. Not everybody got to see 13 Fanboy when it released on the 22nd. I didn't see it for like a week or two later. Like, you know what I mean? So it's something you don't want to spoil for people. We can talk about obviously things that happened in it to an extent, but out of respect for Debbie and out of respect obviously for you and the cast and crew and the movie itself, it's one of those things that I want to hype it up and promote it so we can get people to see it.
Yep.
Because it's really, I saw it. It's a really good movie.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Out of, like you say, out of respect for Deborah Voorhees, she's a sweet lady, very good friend of mine at this point through all of this that we've done. I and a lot of the other crew were holding off on even knowing too much about the film. So I never saw the full script or anything. So it would still be exciting and fun when I went into it. Didn't see any pictures or video of my own scenes or anything, as much as she, certainly would have offered it up. It was just more fun for me. And, that's how we want it to be. So absolutely. But yeah, I saw 13 Fanboy the day it came out, watched it 3 times the same day, in the theater, brought my family, and they don't usually go to the theater. It's probably been 15 years since my wife has. And she was just shocked how drawn in she was. She's like, oh my gosh, that was actually really good. Here I thought I was going to the school play to see what my little boy had done. Right. I mean, you don't know. And she's not into horror films or anything, but this is more of that suspense, Cape Fear, hush, feel that Deborah was going for. So you've kind of got this, it's very interesting to folks like me who do love Friday the 13th and the franchise. And I've got, plenty of junk behind me. I mean, I don't have anywhere near as much as the usual fans, but I've got my little dolls that come out on Halloween or whatever. But, she's not super into that stuff, but she really enjoyed it. And my 18-year-old daughter, the same thing. It was, but so kind of to your point, not everybody was in the theater the same day. It only came in limited release to approximately 20 theaters, I think. And then there was another 5 or so, or maybe 9, somewhere in that 30 range, that it was going to roll to the following weekend. So it's, even for the people who were aware of it, it was difficult to get to a theater to see it. So yeah, absolutely wouldn't want to spoil it for anybody quite yet. Absolutely. It is still pretty fresh.
And there are some people, like, if they can't, they aren't streamers. They don't want to watch it on a streaming platform. So they try to get to a theater to see it. I know that it wasn't in any theaters I was in. I was talking to Debbie about it, and she was trying her hardest to get it in a Maryland or Pennsylvania theater close to me. But obviously it didn't work out that way. I mean, it's not her fault. Like, she tried, she did what she could do, but it's like it's business. Like, if she can't get, if she can't get it in this theater, then, you go to another theater, because she tried to get it in as many as she can, but unfortunately it's not going to get into all the theaters out there. You know what I mean? And that's just the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. I was still happy to be able to see it on streaming. I love to stream as well. So I was very happy to watch it. And it was a very good movie. And I was talking to her earlier today, and I told her I'm definitely going to be watching it again tonight. Because I mean, what I seen, I might have missed some things. You know what I mean? Like, you're not always going to be able to see things the first time through. I mean, I watched Friday the 13th movies all the time. But I still find something knew
Yeah,
about it.
and being in some of these groups, I can't do them the service of remembering all the various names because I've been in
Yeah.
them because I was following Friday the 13th long
Mhm.
before 13th Fanboy. But
Yeah.
yeah, they'll call out stuff even today, and you're like,
Yeah.
what? Wait, I got to go back and check that. I
Yeah.
don't remember seeing that or that little
Right.
detail, and whether it was
Yeah.
an accident or your imagination lets you make it more interesting canon.
Right.
But yeah, I agree. There's always more to see, and I honestly,
Mhm.
even seeing it the third time, I was afraid, okay, for one, I know a lot of the people in it. So I'm just
Yeah.
seeing familiar faces. So it's a little bit like a high school play, or I thought it would be this kind of thing. And I was so blown away. Like I loved it so much that I was like, okay, thank God I've been telling everybody, make sure you come see me in this, And
Yeah.
so I was actually quite thrilled, genuinely, that
Yeah.
I enjoyed it so much. And even the third time watching it in the theater,
Yeah.
I was still just like, it moves. It's just a fast paced film. I did not sit
Yeah.
there bored. And there aren't a lot of films that I find to be that level. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, once I've seen it, now you're dragging me through it. But
Yeah.
I was pretty excited to see it more than once. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And like, and I'll do a cheap plug for my podcast to the movies. We're reviewing so far the Friday the 13th movies. And when we did episode 2 on part 2, I didn't even think of this, and the signs were right there. And I don't know if you heard of this, but the whole Ginny is pregnant theory. I don't know if you heard of that or not.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I do remember
like
hearing
where
something.
where he talks about like the clean up after your menstrual cycles or whatever, and then he like she's
Right.
late to get there, she's late to show up there, so she's
Yeah.
late,
Right.
and
Right.
she basically played Jason's mom at the end. So there was like I never thought of something like that, but
Yeah.
when my
The
co-host brought it up, I'm
subtext.
like, damn, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
You
pretty
know,
cool.
even when I had
Yeah.
Trioki on, he gave me so many theories that he brought up
Right.
that I was like, holy crap.
Yeah. Oh,
It
yeah. He's
was,
a thinker.
yeah. So, how did you happen to get involved with 13 Fanboy?
Well, like I say, I saw that the Indiegogo campaign
Mhm.
was launched, and initially I was interested in the $13, get your name in the credits, this kind of thing,
Yeah.
because to the best of my knowledge, it was not credited for the Indiana Jones work.
Mhm.
But honestly, the credits are so long and so dense in that maybe I'm not looking close enough.
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, maybe I still have to check this one off the bucket list.
Yeah.
And so I was interested from that standpoint. And then, as I saw what the other perks were and things like that,
Mhm.
and thought, oh, wow, that'd be really cool. Because I think some of them were added a little bit as it
Yeah.
was just getting posted, and just decided, yeah, that would just be a lot of fun to
Yeah.
be able to have a role in something like that,
Yeah.
particularly where there were so many well-known actors in it,
Yeah.
and I hadn't been on screen with anybody famous yet. So
Right.
yeah, I thought that would be really cool.
It's awesome. Yeah. That is
Mhm.
really cool. So, let's get right into the meat and the potatoes of 13 Fanboy. So, for those that are unaware of it, can you tell them what this movie is about? So maybe we can persuade them, like, hey, you should see this movie. What
Yeah,
is
I
it
didn't know there was going to be a quiz, but yeah. So,
about?
to the best synopsis I can give, there's a crazed fanboy stalker who is after the actresses from Friday the 13th and Halloween, the franchises, and isn't really able to separate reality from that
Mhm.
fiction. And so he's kind of out to reproduce or one up the deaths that they had in the films.
Mhm.
That's probably the general,
Yeah.
the loose idea.
Yeah.
But
To
it's
be
got,
honest with you, that synopsis that really stole me. Like that made me want to see it. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like this is and it's
yeah.
scary because that shit can happen.
Well, and it really can, and to give you a little bit of meta about it, Adrienne King was on board
Mhm.
and had to back away because she had stalker issues. Apparently,
Yeah.
so I've heard, not from Friday the 13th directly, but she had
Mhm.
issues like that, and it
Yeah.
was too close to home. And I don't blame her one bit.
Oh, I don't either.
And then I think because she's such a good person and she cares about the fans and the franchise, and she's friends with Debbie, she kind of came back around and thought maybe she could do something smaller, a little
Mhm.
peripheral part. And then I think she ended up backing away again. So it's just, it's too real for someone who's been
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't blame her, and I have to hope that it serves more as a warning against
Yeah.
it than an inspiration for it.
Right, exactly. Like
um,
that's what makes Halloween so scary. It's not the jump scares or the kills. It's the fact that you have somebody stalking you and then they kill you, but they're watching
mhm.
your every move. That's what makes it scary.
Yeah, the
Same with
creep
13
factor.
Fanboy. Like,
Yeah,
it happened to Adrian King. Like, don't think that, oh, they don't get stalkers. She literally had a gun to her head because
right.
from this crazed fan. And
Yeah,
thankfully she was able to talk him down.
right.
So the fact that that happened to her alone makes it even more terrifying that this happened in the
Yeah.
movie.
Well, and if you've seen the trailer for 13 Fanboy, Dee Wallace is even calling out the fact that that fanboy is coming into her house. So,
Yeah,
they're watching you, and just to
yeah,
think, yeah, you might roll over in bed and open your eyes and somebody would be there is,
yeah,
that's really pretty
yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah, yeah, especially in your home. That's your own
Right.
turf. You're supposed to be safe in your home.
Yeah,
And the fact
exactly.
that, somebody's stalking you and not just watching your every move, but
Yep.
literally like entering your home or
Right.
potentially entering your home. Like that is
Yeah.
horrifying.
Yeah. 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 Major violation. Heebie jeebies.
Exactly. So
Yep.
what was the best part about filming 13 Fanboy and what was the worst?
Um, Gosh, let's see. I mean, there's a lot of good parts. I know it probably
Mhm.
tends to sound cliche when you talk to, you see any of these interviews and people doing things, not to put myself up with the celebrities, but I thought a lot of that was just hot air,
Mhm.
these people speaking and gushing over the people they worked with. And so I went into it a little bit guarded, and it exceeded my expectations. I mean, of what I thought it was going to be on the set and to work with people who were really serious about the craft and things like that. And I really credit Deborah Voorhees, as when you say what's the best part, it would probably have to be her in the,
Mhm.
if I had to pick one thing, but that is because she is what made all the other things so great.
Right.
It's kind of management. If you've got good hiring managers and things like that, then you get a
Yeah.
good corporate culture. So she was able to really, bring everybody together, motivate them, make them all want to move in the right direction, and I believe just pick the right people who
Yeah.
it probably weren't that hard to keep moving in the right direction. I really couldn't say, because she made it look like, oh yeah, they were all just cohesive.
Right.
But so I thought it was great. The crew, laughing and carrying on and things like that during my
Yeah.
performance was fun. But yeah,
Yeah.
I guess the worst part in metaphorical sense is waiting to see what the streaming numbers are really doing. I
Yeah.
mean, we don't find out about some of that stuff for a little bit down the road.
Mhm.
So I'm expecting it to be a pretty good hit, especially
Oh yeah.
internationally and everything else. I mean, because it did go
Mhm.
out video on demand same day, all over. So
Yeah.
I think that's going to be good. The only negative really isn't anything to do with the production. I have kind of a history of migraine headaches and things like that. So the first day I arrived on set, I was pretty much out of it with
Mhm.
a really bad migraine. And
Yeah.
I got lucky because the filming schedule had shifted a little bit. And so they did the scenes that my son is actually in that day. So I was able to take the day off without having to ask, and then felt awesome on the day that it was my turn to shoot.
Nice.
You know, so that's about the worst thing I can say, and it actually
Right.
turned out really well. So
Right,
yeah,
and that's actually if that's the worst you can have, like that's actually not that bad because
no,
it makes it shows that the whole experience of making 13 Fanboy was nothing but positive.
yeah, it really was.
Yeah,
Yeah, for me, and I acknowledge I was not on set throughout. I
yeah,
had my parts, and other people did, and we did really well to keep it kind of
yeah,
Star Wars secret, if you will, so people
right,
didn't know what the other parts were.
mhm, right.
But I have not heard that there were any kind of issues or things
Awesome,
like that, and didn't have
awesome.
any reason to think that there would be. So
Right.
in fact, after I shot my scenes on site and worked with the crew
Mhm.
and worked with Deborah in person, I was impressed enough with the crew that I actually invested in the production and became an
Nice.
executive producer. So, it's yeah,
Mhm.
I couldn't give it a more positive vote than to say, wow,
Awesome.
I'm really willing to put a lot more money behind this to make sure other people get to see what's being created here. So,
That's awesome. That's really
yep,
cool. So speaking of Debbie, obviously she's an amazing person and a talented
yes.
actress and director. We all know that. So how was she as a director? What was it like working with her?
It was really good. It's funny because I have actually worked with a number of directors. You'd think you just, oh, I don't have anything to compare it to,
Right.
but I do, and I think having that chance to be on set with some of these, Oscar-winning directors, and even the folks from Indiana Jones and stuff. I mean, they're doing these major productions. I still was impressed to see that, like I say, my standards, my expectations were low enough, thinking, well, it's an indie film and I'm not as familiar with indie film. Just didn't know what to expect. And so seeing, oh, that's a misnomer. They're still doing all the same stuff. They're still working just as hard. The people seem to be just as
Yeah.
talented. So it's more presumably, marketing and money on the other end and things like
Right.
that. So yeah, I thought she was, equal to the, like I say, the way she kept everybody going in the right direction.
Right.
Kind of the one funny thing was she had to tell me to stop smiling because I was having too much fun. So
Nice.
I
Nice.
that's been a problem for me over the years. I was picked
Mhm.
at Universal Studios to do a recreation of a scene from, oh my gosh, it was a Vertigo, or I don't know, one of those Hitchcock films, and I couldn't stop smiling. They're like, you're supposed to look scared, and I was just kind of beaming. So it happened again, on set, because I just enjoy myself too much. And so
Yeah.
she's like, you're supposed to be afraid. He's scary. I was like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, but she was very, very polite about it, not
Nice.
rude in any way at all.
Right.
So
Right. She's just
yeah,
being a director, doing her job. Yeah.
absolutely. Yep.
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 Yep. And
So
that's what she's doing to make a very good and impactful movie. And a lot of people don't realize that there really isn't much of a difference between indie films and Hollywood blockbusters. The biggest
right.
difference is probably the funds, the money.
Yeah. Yep.
Because everybody's gonna work just as hard, because nobody wants it goes out and it says, hey, I'm gonna make this movie, but I want to make a shit movie. Like, nobody
Right.
goes out and says, I want to make a shit movie. Like,
Right.
everybody goes out there and they make the best movie they can. So, like, doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's a small budget film or a large budget film,
Mhm.
the actors, the directors, the crew, they're all gonna do the best that they possibly can to make a decent movie. And in the case of 13 Fanboy, it was a success.
Yeah.
Really.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I was
Yeah.
very pleased. And one of the things that I had already appreciated about, not to compare us to Star
Mhm.
Wars or something, but the things that people don't like George Lucas going back and fixing. I mean, some of the
Yeah.
charm is the fact that they had to get creative and they had to do interesting
Mhm.
things because they didn't have $1 billion to make the
Right.
film. And so, yeah, I agree with you on indie films in general, that sometimes
Yeah.
that's where you get the best ingenuity.
Yeah.
It's not just easy to just say, oh yeah, okay, go create that explosion in that car chase. Okay, get back to
Yep.
me when you're done. I mean,
Mhm.
you've got to figure out, how do I do that for $100? So
Right.
it just takes brain power instead of
Yeah.
laziness. So
And
yeah, you
that's
can
why it's
really,
right, and that's why it's called a team environment, because
yep,
just because, like, if it's very low budget and you need to make this effect that most likely would cost a couple $100 or a couple $1,000, but you
yeah,
only have $100 to do it, you don't have just the director saying, how about this way? You have the SFX guy, you have the actors, you have the
yeah,
producers, you have people that put all their brains together and come up with the best way to do it, with the best possible way, the best solution, make it look real and effective.
right. Yeah, you have
Yep.
to collaborate and you have to
Yep.
let everyone do what they're best at,
Yeah.
contribute what they know best.
Yeah.
There's no point in overriding somebody and saying, well, I control the money, I'm going to do it this way. You
Right.
are sort of obligated, and it just forces, assuming you can continue to get along, which
Mhm.
seems to have worked out really well in this as a great example
Yep.
of it. That, yeah, it brings the creativity. So I love that.
Mhm.
It was really fun.
Absolutely. So, what was the most memorable moment, or part about you filming 13 Fanboy?
Um, the most memorable part, well, I guess I couldn't say very much about my scenes for
Mhm.
years. Yeah, and even now it's a little bit like, well, maybe just a little bit early. So
Right.
I guess holding on to those memories, that, to make sure I don't forget them so that I could
Right.
remember them, makes a lot of it memorable. Um, I guess, like I say, the fact that it was that much of a fun environment to be
Yeah.
on. I didn't realize, or I guess I should say, I'd forgotten how much of a ham I can tend to be. I'm usually willing to stand back and let someone else perform, and then when it's my turn, okay, great. But
Mhm.
yeah, I actually really liked being the center of attention more than I thought I was going to,
Yeah.
because I was just so focused, okay, we're doing this, we're making a film, it's not about me, we want to make sure we get the best product out there, and was just very much in that hard driven mindset, which the rest of the crew was as well. And so then when they were like, oh no, just be you, and don't worry about what everybody else is doing, it was just kind of fun and unexpected to just be like, oh, okay, this is my my not 15 minutes of fame per se, but just my few minutes to goof around and not have to be so business oriented. So
absolutely. And and like a lot of people don't realize that it's not about every actor or their credentials or what they bring to the table. It's egos aside, it's do what's best for the product, because that's what's gonna align everybody with their paychecks, and that's what's gonna align the movie to do good and get good reviews and to be enjoyable to watch, because you have a good product, and that's where everybody's got to really put away their egos.
Yeah, well, absolutely. As a business, that's absolutely right. And the one of the things you hit on is make it enjoyable to watch, and not just for the movie going public, but for myself. I mean, I didn't want to make something and go, oh yeah, there's a picture of me. That's embarrassing. I mean, it's selfies of sorts. So you're like, you want to make sure it's a good one. You're going to put it out there. You want to be happy when you look at it. So everybody, I felt, self included, was taking pride in trying to make sure this is something that we're going to want to see more than once. So even if I think none of us had been involved in the production, just in concept, we were all like, oh my God, I'd love to see that movie. So of course we wanted to make sure that it came out well. It was something we were looking forward to for even more reasons.
Exactly. So have you met any of the Friday the 13th alumni on set? And if so, which ones? And which ones were you like really, really like, I guess, giddy or shy to meet? Because I guess you really love them in the films or whatever.
I guess I did meet some. Obviously, I met Debbie Sue Voorhees, Deborah. Was very anxious to meet her because we had established a good friendship, through texting and phone calls and things, getting everything lined up. And she was, even sweeter than I had hoped. So that was great. I guess if from the perspective that you're asking, I took a picture of her with my cell phone while I was waiting for my scenes because somebody else was shooting, but I didn't have the nerve to actually ask to take a picture with her. So, I've got this picture of her like starting to look up from her notes as she was getting up. And I was like, that's the most nerve I had, was just to try to I didn't want to be a creep, but I didn't want to go home without at least having taken a picture. And so, but I did meet Tracy Savage and spoke to her quite a bit. She's around in the parts of the film that I'm in. And Judy Aronson was showing up on set the same day that my last day on set. And she was great. I mean, I just thought she was the most adorable part of Weird Science. And, of course, she was Samantha in Friday the 13th. So, that was fun. I didn't say a lot. I was just like, hey, we're in this together. Here's my son. He's in it with you too. So, it's, I mean, but we're all just people. I wasn't going to complete fangirl on anybody. But it is funny, even though you are very real about it, you do have that mystique. These are people that you've sort of known from a distance for so long. You don't know what you're going to think when you meet them.
Exactly. So. And that's the biggest struggle with me, even with with Slasher Scotty, is the fact that I interviewed, I started this with Greg Gilbert. Greg Gilbert, he interviewed me for my book I wrote. And then I told him, how'd you start doing this? And he gave me tips and gave me suggestions and hints. And he's like, you should do that. And I'm like, maybe I will. And I had Victor Miller on as my first guest, and went from there. And I had Debbie on, and, it's one of those things that I didn't expect it to grow as big as it did. Where I have actually people asking me for them to be on.
But that's great. Congratulations.
Thank you. And the fact though that, I have to be professional. I have to, I can't fanboy or fangirl over, these celebrities that I'm looking at and interviewing, but it's something that is exciting because I grew up watching all of these people as a kid, and now I'm talking to them.
Well, and I actually have to say I got a kick out of, I hope I am not getting the name wrong, Lauren Marie Taylor was in part 2, and she actually reached out to me this past week on Facebook and friended me. So I thought, okay, great, I'm in the club of victims. Awesome.
She's
But she's adorable. I loved her in that film. Yeah,
Yes.
she's
That's
great. So,
amazing. Yeah.
but that was kind of, another one of those like, okay, well, I've done this and I've been in this film and I've done this other
Mhm.
thing and I've met, celebrities and
Yeah.
stuff. And so to have them actually reach out first
Yeah.
was interesting.
Yeah.
And I certainly do have a lot of people from the biz and behind the scenes and things like that that I'm connected to as well, or who may have reached out first. But to have
Yeah.
somebody that I was like, I think I know that name. Who is that? And then, oh, okay, like, wow,
Yep.
famous people.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really fun.
That is exciting, and it's one of those things like you never think that would happen to you, and it does. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like that, like the
Yeah.
same thing with me, and I'm sure the same thing with Greg Gilbert. Like you think like, oh, it's a pipe dream, but when it becomes reality, it's like, holy shit, this is happening,
Yeah. Yep.
and it's
It's very
exciting.
cool. Yeah.
Yes. So, um, where can 13 Fanboy be viewed? I know we mentioned it a little bit for those that do want to see it, because we do know that it is currently released. So, where, if somebody is watching this, like, I really want to watch 13 Fanboy, where can they go and see it?
Alrighty. Your best bet is probably going to be to go to 13fanboy.com,
Mhm.
and there's the whole synopsis and the trailers and all that kind of good stuff. And there's I think it's a now playing section link at the top that shows all the theaters that it was
Okay.
being released in. So that list kept growing as we got them lined up. There were, like I say, a few, 5 or 10 or something, that I think only opened on the 29th and should still be playing this week, depending on
Okay.
when this podcast comes out.
Yeah.
But other than that, the more broad release and accessibility is going to be through iTunes or Vudu. Amazon Video on Demand is up there. I've seen the logos for things like Xbox and Comcast, and
Mhm.
so it's essentially all the video on demand, all the major stuff internationally, but not so much on something like Netflix, where or Peacock, where you pay
Yeah.
a monthly fee. It's not to that level yet. It still
Right.
is this featured brand new release.
Right.
And so I got mine on Vudu. I know a lot of
Nice.
people bought it on both. It's just
Yep.
like, I need to have it everywhere.
Nice.
Not necessarily necessary, but hopefully everybody gets it and likes it. Last I heard was that we're hoping to get DVDs out in December, but there's no firm date on
Yeah.
that. So that'll be another way that people can hopefully see it pretty
Nice.
soon.
Awesome.
And then, personal speculation only, I guess, just watching the way these things go, that then, whatever it is, a few months later, you might start to see it show up on Netflix or those other platforms, but that's not inside
Right.
info. That's just me guessing.
Right.
You usually see theater, and then you see DVDs, and then you see,
Right.
so.
And who knows, like, I mean, maybe they will get on Netflix, maybe it'll be a Shutter release. And I
You're
mean,
right.
Shutter would be a
Yeah.
very good platform for 13 Fanboy, I think.
Yeah, it really
That would
would.
be a
Yeah.
very good area to go to. I think that would
Yep.
really suit them well as well. And I mean, I would love to see it on. I have Peacock because I have Xfinity, so that would be cool as
Yep.
well. And I know if you have Xfinity, you get Peacock for free. And
Okay. I
I
have
know
Shutter.
that. Yep, I have Shutter.
Yeah.
And yep, and I bought it on Amazon because I was originally going to buy it on Comcast, but I'm thinking if I ever move to an area that there is no Comcast, I won't have Comcast anymore, and then I might
Oh,
lose the product. So I
maybe so.
figured, why not get on Amazon? I'm always gonna have my Amazon account,
Yeah, that's true.
so I just
Yep.
bought it on Amazon. So yeah, and it's on. It's I'm telling you, it's a really good movie. So if you can get it, definitely put some money aside to get the movie. To get the movie. I
Yep.
prefer buy it than rent it because if you buy it, it's only a couple bucks more, and you're gonna have it for for the rest of your life, pretty much. So
Right.
I
Yeah,
I,
and
I recommend buying it. It's worth
I
it is
think,
worth it.
yeah, well, I appreciate that. And I think I presumably, where it's the independent release and everything,
Mhm.
from what I've seen, it's on at least the platforms I've checked, it's only $14.99 versus a
Yeah.
lot of them that go out there for 20, or I don't know, maybe more.
Yes. Yep.
So when you say, how close it is to rent versus own,
Yeah.
if you're going to watch it more than once, you're going to be happier that you bought it, because you're
Yeah.
pretty much going to have paid that. So yeah,
Right. You
and
if
I
you rent
definitely.
it and you want to watch and you do enjoy it and you want to watch it again, you're gonna spend more than if you just buy it. Because I think
Right.
I'm
Yep.
not sure how much it is to rent off the top of my head. I think it was like 7.99 or 8.99 or something close to that.
Right, and it probably
But it's
varies a little by platform, but you're right.
right.
It's got to be
But
a
on
half of
Amazon it
what it
was
is to buy it.
14.99.
Yeah. Yep.
So you might as well just
So
buy it because I'm gonna watch it again tonight. And if
yeah.
you rent it, you only have it for like 30 days, I think it is.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you don't have it for, a couple months that you can watch it in a couple months, over the course of a couple months. Like
Well,
only a
and
month.
what I've seen that they tend to do is that you have 30 days to start watching it, but once you do,
Mhm.
you've only got 48 hours to finish.
Yeah.
So you can't just watch
Yeah.
it all month long. So,
Right.
you don't really even have that 30 days. You kind of,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly. So
so
so if you wanna definitely see it and you aren't sure you're gonna like it, you're gonna
mhm.
spend $5 more to buy it anyways. I
Right.
mean, might as well buy it because if you do like it, then you can always continue to watch it and watch it whenever you want. Have a couple friends over and watch it. Watch it every
Yeah.
year on Halloween. Like
Well, and
it's
that's it. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
I'm planning on including it in my rotation for the
mhm,
Friday the 13th marathons. And
nice.
like, okay, this
Yeah,
Friday the 13th, should I watch them all or just one? And then on Halloween
right.
you watch all of them. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm definitely planning on adding it
yeah.
to my rotation. So
Yeah, I have something I call Scotty Ween where I end up having one like horror movie. Like I'll watch them all day long, but I have like one specific horror movie I'll watch every night for 31
Mhm.
days in October at 8 o'clock at night. And I usually don't do it until like a month before like October. And I
Yeah.
already started next year's list and I already have the fanboy added to it.
There you go. Awesome.
Yep, I watched it this past year on Halloween, a couple days ago, and like I said, it's very good. So definitely check that out. So the
Yep.
last question I have for you is, do you have any other projects in the works that you would like to promote to the listening and viewing audience?
Oh my gosh. There's a there's another small independent film
Mhm.
that I'm intending to shoot. It actually got delayed. I think it was supposed to shoot this month, called
Okay.
Trivial. That I'm going to be up in. I think that's in Cincinnati is where they're shooting that.
Okay.
So I'm going to have a little part in that one. And there's another film that Chris Sanders is doing. He's the UK director, filmmaker who had great success with a couple of films, and he's kind of getting bigger and bigger and pulling in some of the bigger names. This one is going to be called Demons at Dawn, if I'm remembering that correctly. Black Coppice Films, I think, is the name that he's under. And so, yeah, he had written me a custom part for the UK in the last picture, and I wasn't a Werewolf Cabal, I think it was, or
Mhm.
now I'm getting them all confused. But anyway, so yeah, but he's had a number of successful films, and so since I wasn't able to make it to the UK, I'm going to join him on his next one there. So
Nice.
yep, so that should be really cool.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Sounds like a plan. And if after this interview airs and everything, I plan on getting it uploaded sometime tonight. But after it airs and everything, if anybody's watching this, say 4 months, 5 months, a year down the road, and they come across
Mhm.
the interview, check out Christopher Norris's IMDb page. I'm sure that'll be updated with any projects that he has going on as well.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep. Awesome. So I thank you so much, Chris, for joining me.
All right. Thanks for having me,
All
Scotty.
right. Yep. You have a great rest of your day.
You
All
too.
right. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.